We're back now talking with 11-time Grammy nominee Alan Parsons. Let's move on to the Alan Parsons Project. My God. Let's go start with the genesis of the idea and how you hooked up with the songwriter Eric Wolfson.
I'd had a little bit of success as a producer with EMI acts, one of which was Pilot, another of which was Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. And following those successes, I felt the need for some business guidance, quite apart from anything else. And there was this guy producing a child prodigy act in another studio. His name was Eric Wolfson, and I was working with him. I actually ended up working with him on a session, and he suggested that he might be the right guy to manage me. And I said, manage me? I mean, I'm an engineer and a producer, not an artist. And he said, no, I think you need a manager. And arguably, I was the first ever producer and engineer to have a manager. Every producer has a manager these days, but back then it was pretty rare. So Eric duly managed me and did very well. He managed to get a couple of checks paid into my bank account within a few days. And it wasn't long, though, before he said, oh, by the way, I've got some songs.
The other shoe.
Yeah, right. I mean, he'd had some success as a songwriter. He'd been commissioned by Jimmy Miller of Rolling Stones fame to write some songs, and he wrote a small hit for Chris Farlowe as well. But he had this idea that an album could be based on the work of Edgar Allan Poe. And he had a song called The Raven, which was in very rough form on a demo which he'd made, and a couple of other tunes. And we spent the next month or so doing, getting together and writing together and doing demos. And it was at the time that the big MIDEM convention in Cannes in France came along. We flew to Cannes and did a deal there and then, just based on the idea.
Really?
With the president of 20th Century Fox Records, Russ Regan.
Yeah.
So that was a good feeling. Just no, he didn't hear a single note of music, Russ.
You didn't bring the demos with you?
He didn't bring them with us, no.
You just told him the idea?
Yeah, and he said, it's magic, I love it, and here's lots of money, go make the record. So.
Well, after you did Tales of Mystery and Imagination, you moved on to I, Robot. And I love the song, I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. Tell us about I, Robot.
Very loosely based on the Isaac Asimov trilogy of the same name. But the philosophies were different. We kind of expressed a fear that machines would ultimately overrule the human race, whereas Asimov's rules of robotics, as he called them, kind of protected against that. Yeah. But I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You is I think a deliberately ambiguous reference to the relationship between a man and a machine.
Right.
I wouldn't want to be like you. Is it the robot talking to the human, or is it the human talking to the robot?
Yeah.
So if you next time you hear it in the other context that you normally think of it, and it kind of works.
That's interesting, because I played that song in context of a set from both directions. One as the robot and one as the guys.
I think it was always a project philosophy that not, as a general rule, to write songs, as most people do, about human relationships. We always chose obtuse subjects.
Right. Why was it?
One of which was a petrochemical plant in the middle of England, which was called Ammonia Avenue. I don't know why. I just felt that in the category of music we fell into, which was known as progressive rock at the time, that wasn't love songs. That was historical songs, protest songs, I guess, or just songs about anything other than I love you, you love me, all that stuff.
With your album Turn of a Friendly Card, you scored a top 20 hit with Games People Play, and also another hit with Time. Tell us a story about how the late Eric Wolfson ended up singing on this song?
Eric always would sing a guide track when we'd recorded the tracks of a song. He would always stick a rough vocal down, sometimes with unfinished lyrics, but and sometimes it would just be la la la. But it was there, to give us our own for our own guidance so that we could find out where we were in the song when the tape went into play, for example. But Eric, unlike me, who always did record demos before we went in the studio, he didn't. Usually the first time I would hear any of his songs was just literally he would play it on the piano in the studio and the band would listen, and then we'd write down the chords and then the band would play it. But when we were recording Time, it was in Paris, in a little studio in Paris. He kind of stuck his neck out and said, "I'd really like to sing this one for real."
Yeah.
And I was, I'd always, on the previous, albums until that point, always resisted him being a singer. I always felt that it was outside interests that worked best. But he ended up doing a great job. He had a hit with it, and he ended up singing all the other hits, including Eye in the Sky after that. So I had to, I was proved wrong, no question.
Another lesson as producer to, go with the flow, I guess, at certain times. The title track from Eye in the Sky went on to number 3 on the charts. You guys really had some success with this. I mean, this wasn't like a one-off deal. You had some success.
Yeah, Eye in the Sky was the one where I really felt we'd made it, because I was over here. I remember, driving a rented car around promoting the Eye in the Sky album, and it was never off the radio. I mean, I would switch on the radio, and there it would be. It was a great feeling.
What does that feel like, by the way, the first time you hear one of your songs on the radio? Does that?
Oh, it's magnificent. You feel so proud of yourself. I mean, you think, that's me, that's me, it's coming out of the radio,
Yeah, good. Yeah. Now, you have been nominated for 11 Grammys. You are the 5th most nominated human being on the planet who hasn't won one.
Without winning.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, it's just eluded me, winning a Grammy. And I think I could safely say that I'm the only, or I'd be the number 1 producer, engineer, who's been nominated the most number of times without winning.
Well, my money's on you that this is going to happen before you hang up your rock and roll shoes. This has got to happen.
I hope you're right.